Disclaimer: No Self-Hate is a mental health awareness platform, not a licensed therapy provider or certified psychological organization. All content is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered medical advice or a substitute for professional mental health care. If you are in crisis or need immediate support, please contact a licensed mental health provider or call, text 988 for the Crisis Lifeline, US only. Some topics may include sensitive mental health themes. Viewer discretion is advised. This channel may include brief use of copyrighted material under Fair Use, U.S. Copyright Law, Section 107, for commentary, education, and discussion.
All right, now that we have defined forgiveness, let's go deeper. Let's identify what we can work on to help us forgive better, or find the ways of forgiveness a little more, make it a little more accessible for ourselves. Okay, so today we are going to focus on what you call forgiveness IQ. So what is forgiveness IQ? Forgiveness IQ is your ability to, and again, we do this at every section where we try to give our own definition of what we think forgiveness IQ is before we actually go into the information and define everything for you. But for now, and again, the point of that is for us to be working from the same deck to make sure that we are all working from the same definition of forgiveness IQ or whatever term we may be referencing. So, what is forgiveness IQ to me? It's basically your ability to consistently put your mental health before grudges, trauma, and different things like that. That's what I think forgiveness IQ is. So what do you think forgiveness IQ is? What is forgiveness IQ to you? You know, what do you think your forgiveness IQ is, right? So if we're thinking about forgiveness IQ, we're thinking about different levels. So if we were to use the hypothetical example of, school, let's say you got elementary, grade school, high school, college, grad school, the degrees all the way from elementary all the way up to your doctorate's degree. There are different levels of forgiveness IQ, sort of like there are different levels of intelligence. Your IQ test that you see when it comes to, your ability to recognize knowledge, patterns, and different things like that. But this is on the forgiveness side. So it's basically measuring your ability to forgive and different things like that. But what is it to you? But let's define it together and see what it says. So forgiveness IQ is your ability to understand what forgiveness is and isn't. All right. So we defined forgiveness in part 1 of season 1, episode 4, what is forgiveness? So we're very aware of what forgiveness is and what forgiveness isn't, right? We understand that we can forgive without forgetting, right? So next up, we have manage the emotions tied to pain or betrayal. So it's our ability to manage our emotions tied to pain or betrayal. Is it a crash out moment? Is it the end of the world? Being able to rationalize logic, the greater good, and peace before, any of those different angers we covered. And what is anger? I believe that was episode 3, season 1, episode 3, where we covered what is anger. Just rationalizing, and focusing, staying greater good oriented, so that we are focused on the greater good at any moment in any situation. And being able to manage those emotions to good outcomes is actually how our forgiveness IQ works. Next up, we have act in ways that free you without suppressing, enabling, or bypassing harm. Keeping you free, keeping that weight off your heart, keeping the impulsive, ruminant thoughts out of your brain, these things that just invade your privacy and your peace from your trauma, unresolved trauma, and different things like that. Pretty much, it's our ability to go through and then accelerate or achieve post-traumatic growth. All right. And that's the positive side of resolving trauma, right? Unresolved trauma is the negative side. Post-traumatic growth is the more positive side, the more beneficial side, I should say. All right. So forgiveness IQ reflects your emotional intelligence. I cannot wait until we get to the emotional intelligence episode, it is an eye opener, or it's an opportunity to be an eye opener, because again, we're just sharing information, and I am going through showing you how to use this information if you choose to use this information. But maybe the self-empowerment route isn't for you. Maybe the route for you is to go seek a therapist, go talk to some counselors, maybe reach out to a relative, maybe journal some things. But for those that are ready for the self-empowerment, those that believe that they can achieve this through effort, in the application of knowledge, this is the route that we're taking. And I can't wait till you see that emotional intelligence episode. It is going to change things for you, or has the opportunity to change things for you. All right, next up, it reflects your maturity. It reflects your healing capacity. Think about that healing capacity. What is your healing capacity? Do you think you heal fast? Or do you think you have developed processes that have went unchecked that allow you to take your time to heal? Either way, it can be whatever you want it to be, right? But for me, my healing capacity is, I have to be happy, and I'm trying to get back to that as soon as possible. If I hurt someone in my life, or if someone hurts me, I have to resolve that issue, because I want to get back to maximizing peace and happiness with my time on earth. Okay. Next up, forgiveness IQ is the ability to feel hurt without letting that hurt harden you or calcify you. What was it? I believe it was calcify. I believe we'll look that up, but pretty much harden you. It's choosing growth over grudges, even when the pain is justified. So it's choosing growth over grudges when you know someone was wrong, when they know they were wrong, when they may not have the capacity to come to you and forgive you, right? Let's just think about that. If we leave the ball in their court where we say, hey, I'm not going to heal until that person makes the first move, how do we know they have the capacity to make the first move? Like, how do we know it will ever dawn on them the way that we feel? And that they will then feel bad about that and come try to right that wrong. We can't wait on people to do that. We have to understand that in any situation where trauma is involved, or whenever there is some type of, conflict, confrontation, we want to resolve that within ourselves as soon as possible, is what I'm thinking for myself. I'm thinking that is the best route, because the more I'm thinking about happiness, and the less I'm thinking about, why somebody did something, and, trying to figure out, stuff that I can't control, I think that is going to hamper my life. I think that is not going to enhance my life. So me being happy more is worth more than the grudges, and maintaining grudges with people who are looking to maintain grudges, who may be masters at maintaining grudges, right? I don't want to play those games. And even when the pain is justified, even when we know they're wrong, we still have to have the forgiveness IQ to understand that, hey, even if they're wrong, we have to move on. We have so much more we want to achieve. There are 1,000 other things we can be thinking about instead of what this person has done to us, or so on and so forth. So we have to be self-starters with that. We have to take that information and begin the forgiveness process ourselves. All right, so let's go deeper into this now. What are the components of forgiveness IQ? So first up, we have cognitive awareness. So cognitive awareness is your mental understanding of what forgiveness is and isn't, including recognizing myths, distortions, and the psychological purpose of forgiveness. Recognizing these things, knowing what the myths are. We don't have to forget if we forgive. We don't have to reconcile immediately when we forgive someone. It's up to our discretion, but remember, we want to keep the greater good at the forefront. In my opinion, the opportunity here is to keep the greater good. If there's a greater good, maybe there's a greater peace. Okay? It includes, so cognitive awareness includes knowing forgiveness is for your peace, not their pardon. Understanding the difference between forgiveness, reconciliation, and forgetting. Being aware of your personal beliefs or cultural messages about forgiveness. Examples, for example, you realize that holding on to anger is draining you more than it's punishing the other person. Think about how much energy anger and negativity consumes whenever you think about it. I believe you're actually, I don't know this for sure, but it almost feels like I'm burning calories when I am stressing and going through negativity and different things like that, right? So it's it's draining me to punish this other person who may or may not care if I'm punishing them the way that I choose to. By me removing myself from them, how does that guarantee that they are being punished, right? So I can't hold on to that anger that's draining me when I don't know A, if it's effective, and B, I know it's not productive. It doesn't feel productive. The anger feels heavy. The anger feels like a weight. So you've been taught forgive and forget, but now understand that you can forgive while still remembering and setting boundaries. That's cognitive awareness. Next up, we have emotional regulation. The definition of emotional regulation is the ability to identify, tolerate, and manage difficult emotions like anger, grief, betrayal, or shame without letting them control your behavior. That is heavy. Emotional regulation. That may need its own episode, right? That may need its own episode because we have the ability to identify, tolerate, and manage difficult emotions when you're going through grief, when you're going through anger, when you're going through betrayal. Not letting that moment define you and take you out of character is your ability to emotionally regulate. Regulation includes feeling your feelings without suppressing or exploding. Right, constructive anger or constructive expression. Watching your tone, being respectful of others whenever you're communicating how you feel, right? Considering those around you, still putting the greater good there. I may feel this way, but holistically, I have to make sure that when communicating this information, I'm not A, passing it on to someone else and creating misery for someone else when I just really want to be heard, when I just really want to get it out of my system. Finding healthy ways to communicate that. Next up, not using revenge, rumination, or passive aggression to cope. This is very difficult. I've seen this passive aggression thing may need its own episode as well because we have to think about how sarcasm is and how these different passive aggressive things that we do when we just can't vent that anger. I see a lot of it in the professional world. I see a lot of it in my own home where there are little hints of passive aggression, and we need to understand exactly what it means. I believe all of us need a deeper understanding of what passive aggression is so that we can begin to stop finding ways to vent anger covertly. Okay. Rumination, having those thoughts pop up. Revenge, you don't have to use revenge whenever something happens to you. You don't have to retaliate. You are in control. You can give yourself more solutions than that. There are other ways. You do not have to get revenge every time. You do not have to stoop to the levels that are beneath you if these things are beneath you. Again, this is just an opportunity for growth. Again, this is not mandated for anyone, but I just want to make sure that's clear for myself. What I'm learning from this is what I'm telling you. All right, next up, processing emotions through healthy outlets, therapy, journaling, art, etc. I love this. I love processing my emotions through creative outlets and different things like that. Going places with my children, having activities with my children, my family, my wife, everyone. Just being together and creating together is something that I love. And that's how I also use emotional regulation. Excuse me. So, example, you disagree with the loved one, you feel hurt, but choose to listen with empathy before replying, right? And that's the hardest thing to do. I see we all struggle with whenever someone is explaining how we made them feel, we struggle with letting them finish their timeline. When you interrupt people, in my opinion, it's like changing the timeline. If you start saying something, and while you're saying something I interrupt you, it changed the timeline that you intended for when you first started speaking. So I knock you off that timeline to interrupt you. And then now you start on another time. Then I knock you off that one. We're not going to get anywhere. You have to be able to fully express your ideas. We all have to. So we have to take turns to listen to each other. And it is very difficult. Take it from me, it is very difficult. But I believe we can do it with a little effort. All right, self compassion, the ability to forgive yourself for past mistakes, failures, or poor decisions, while still taking accountability and striving to grow. Yes, this is opportunities for growth. Your mistakes, your failures. I say, I always tell my children, two of the greatest teachers in my lifetime have been pain and failure. You can learn a lot from pain and failure. Not in the in the form of post-traumatic growth, when you resolve your different pain and failures and different things within yourself, the post-traumatic growth from there can be wonderful. The sky is the limit in your ability to apply it, but you must always understand that you are not perfect. Okay, I get it. We attempt to be perfect, and sometimes we fall, but we must always have that self-compassion. We must always understand that self-love, that hey, it's like you I don't know if you all have children or anything, but it's like having a child that you spoiled. You can have a niece or nephew or something that you spoiled. Just they have that ability to get away with certain things that everyone wouldn't be able to get away with. You have to allow yourself that. You have to have that compassion on yourself, and that you still hold yourself accountable, and you focus on solutions, but you still must have that compassion. Okay, you are all you have. You are the greatest thing you have. You will slip up. You are operating in some form of ignorance, whether you like it or not, because no one knows everything. So always forgive yourself. All right. This includes separating guilt. I did something bad from shame. I am bad. Offering yourself the same kindness you'd offer a friend. Rebuilding self-trust and identity after regret. You regret yelling at your child during a stressful, so this is the example. You regret yelling at your child during a stressful moment. Instead of spiraling in guilt for days, you apologize, reflect on the cause, and forgive yourself while committing to responding differently next time. Okay, so parents apologizing in my generation is just about unheard of. I'm from that generation where parents were right. You didn't question them. No matter what level of education they had, no matter what level of ignorance they may have, it was under respect that we always respect elders, and we never questioned. We trusted their guidance, we trusted their decision making, but we never I haven't heard too many times where my great grandmother or grandmother really was into the apology thing. Maybe it happened when I wasn't around, but in this example, it's basically saying self-compassion. If a person were to, inadvertently, have the wrong tone with their child, instead of feeling bad, like, oh man, why did I say that to my kid? Oh man, beating yourself up, always stay solution oriented, always stay focused. Remember, we learned this in episode 1, I believe, What is Self-Hate, where we talked about if you feel guilty, apologize and mean it. Ask the person for forgiveness and forgive yourself and move on with your life. And there's a fourth level for those that may practice religion or spirituality. They could also ask, their savior or whoever that they choose to believe in for forgiveness as well. However it works, right? For myself, I may do all four. For someone else, they may do 2 or 3, but it's all up to you. We're not forcing that on anyone. You believe whatever you choose to believe. Okay, but always ask for forgiveness. All right, so that's pretty much what that's saying. Instead of spiraling, in guilt for days, you apologize, reflect on the cause, and forgive yourself. Give yourself some tools. Always, again, forgive yourself. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to get upset sometime. You're going to get hot sometime. Your tone is going to be off sometime. You're a human. an emotional being. Okay. Next up, we have perspective taking, empathy. This is very important. The capacity to see the humanity in others, even those who've hurt you, without condoning or justifying their behavior. The humanity. Do you understand the level of emotional intelligence you have to have for people to be attacking you, whether that's verbally or physically, however it may work, and you still see the humanity in them? That is high level emotional intelligence, but you must learn to practice. Well, there's an opportunity to learn to practice it here. You want to be able to see the humanity in others, because it is my belief that people get hurt and people, go through different things out here in the world because the aggressor or the offender, the person that is doing the thing, may have lost the humanity of that person because they were so angry, because that person didn't cooperate or follow their orders or different things like that. They may get so lost in the anger and frustration. And remember, we said those are anger, cousins of anger. Frustration, irritation, irritability, annoyance, all of these things. They get so caught up in that they lose focus of the human that's involved. So always have that empathy. Always see the humanity, no matter how malicious it is. It is a flawed being, a human, a flawed being that is making whatever decisions they may think is best for them at that time. Doesn't make them right, doesn't justify their behavior, doesn't let them off the hook, but it does allow us to see that, hey, this is prone to, the condition of being a human. This is the behavior that's prone to that, right? You're prone to that type of behavior as a human being, where you may be hypocritical, you may be a little aggressive, you may be a little extra sometimes, right? But always have that perspective taken whenever you're dealing with someone that has harmed you or hurt you. Again, this is all in support of forgiveness IQ. Next up, it says, so this includes, empathy includes understanding that people are shaped by their pain, trauma, or limitations. What are the things that they went through? How has life affected them? What darkness have they seen that have led them to where they are? Recognizing emotional immaturity or unconsciousness in others. Wow. Recognizing emotional immaturity. I got a lot of work to do, but I do remember a time when I recognized that, hey, I am emotionally immature. For my age, I don't think that I have the emotions that I should, right? So for example, if we use the hypothetical of the school example, where we say, your grade level emotionally may be this, right? Or maybe that. It is my opinion, in high school, I had the emotional grade level of a fifth grader. And I was in my senior year in high school. And I'm vulnerable enough to talk to you all about these things because that's how important this stuff is, right? As your host, I have seen a lot of angles of life, and I have walked down a lot of paths. So I try to bring that experience, that expertise to you as we go through this information and find ways to leverage this information to better ourselves, right? But I was emotionally immature or unconscious. How many of you all know unconscious people? And I'm not talking about unconscious as far as their vitals and their signs, their physical signs and stuff like that. I'm talking about just unconscious mentally. They're just not aware. They're not in the moment. They're somewhere else in their mind moving through the moment, right? You gotta be able to recognize that in others so that you build that empathy for them. Okay. Next up, feeling empathy without sacrificing your own boundaries. You can feel empathy without sacrificing your own boundaries. But remember, we want to stay focused on the greater good. We want to keep ourselves positive in that good, positive, good energy frequency, high frequencies of good energy and peace. And we're emitting that amongst each other. We're accepting each other. We're loving humans as humans should love each other and different things like that. To explore that empathy. All right, example. Your family never apologized even when wrong. You realize accountability was never modeled for them. You stop expecting what they can't give and start offering it to yourself. So there you have to step in for some folks sometimes. Sometimes if they don't have the capacity, or if they were never taught accountability, if they were never taught the proper way to apologize, if they were never taught forgiveness, there's nothing you can do about that but try to teach that to them, or you do the work for them yourself and you overstand their position. It doesn't give you an elevated position over them, though. They're still who they are, and you have to still respect them for who they are. But maybe they just don't have the tools to resolve some of these things, and you need to assist them. All right. Boundaries and discernment. The ability to forgive without enabling. Knowing how to maintain safety, distance, and clarity about what's acceptable in your life. That's pretty simple. Set those boundaries, healthy boundaries. What makes you feel good? What makes you feel unsafe? Okay. This includes saying, I forgive you, but I no longer allow access to me. That may be something that you need to do. You want to obviously make sure that, you're measuring the weight of that relationship, if a person has done 99 things right and they did this one thing wrong, the 80-20 rule, there's a lot of things that you can leverage in that. But, if you don't want anyone to have access to you that has, chronically misused you, or dishonored you, or disrespected you, I think it is healthy to want a little space in between there, right? But again, we don't want that to dominate us. We don't want, whenever we think about that person, for that to lead the charge. All right. Knowing when reconciliation is unsafe or unnecessary. Got to know that, right? If someone has gotten into a physical, altercation, maybe the next day trying to go back and reconcile is not the best time. Maybe people need to reflect and, see what's going on. Whatever. Maybe, and this happens a lot in families and, in friendships out here in the world, in different relationships, where people cross the line with each other so bad that I believe that sometimes you need just a little time to either appreciate how much that person means to you, or reflect on what you've done, accountability, different things. So you got to give yourself some time. But remember, we want whenever we're closing a door, we want to make sure we're doing it right. We don't want to carry luggage with us. We don't want to carry baggage with us. We want to resolve our trauma through post-traumatic growth, and we want to make sure that we are forgiving, and making sure we're implementing forgiveness IQ, so that we can move on free from the things that have hurt us, free from the pain that we have been through. All right. Next up, distinguishing between healthy compassion and codependency. Right? You don't want to become codependent. You must learn how to love thyself. It is a great honor and privilege to have other people to love you, but there is no promise that other people are going to love you the way that you want to be loved. The only one who knows the way that you really want to be loved and how you want to be loved is you, and you could love yourself that way, right? So codependency and healthy compassion, you want to walk that line. So, for example, after forgiving a friend who repeatedly lied, you decided not to rekindle the friendship. You wish them well internally, but no longer invite them into your emotional or physical space. If that's the choice that you want to do, you can do that, if that's what makes you feel better. For myself, maintaining healthy relationships means having some durability. It doesn't mean accepting abuse. It doesn't mean accepting or justifying or pacifying anyone's behavior. It just means that there is an ongoing process of boundary setting. And as long as I'm setting these boundaries, they aren't being crossed again, I can continually work through and forgive someone and continually work with someone. But if there are boundaries that are constantly being crossed, that could hinder our relationship. And it'll get to the point that I don't feel comfortable around you, or I don't feel as happy as I can be around you because of that rumination of those boundaries that you have crossed, right? So giving yourself boundaries and discernment is very important in forgiveness IQ. All right. Last but not least, resilience and emotional release. So the ability to let go of emotional baggage and move forward, even if the offender never apologizes, justice isn't served, or closure isn't offered. Do you see what we're doing here with resilience and emotional release? You see how we're automating our healing? See, this step is very important in automation. We want to automate these things within our emotions. We want to make it that this is the natural way that they operate, right? Because the ability to let go of emotional baggage and move forward is essential when there is no guarantee that people will apologize or justice will be served or closure will be offered. So if we're depending on other people for those things and they never offer them, is that a lifetime of waiting in one place for something that may never come? Why submit to that? Why not go out, do the work, and move on your own? Automate emotional release. Automate your emotional resiliency. You want to do this, right? Because when we master these things, that's when our forgiveness IQ enhances, increases the opportunities for post-traumatic growth. So, resilience in emotional release includes not letting the pain define your future or identity. Something happened to you in the past, on this one, you can use that to something happened to you and you turn it into a positive and you build something beautiful from it. Or you help something, or you improve something, you enhance something, right? But we don't want to let it define us negatively. Well, this thing happened to me, so I have to turn to this vice, or I have to go do this to feel better about my life. We don't want to fall into that hole, because if we do, that could slip down into depression, substance abuse, all types of stuff. So we have to be cognizant of these possibilities. All right, releasing emotional charges when you remember the event. Using the pain as a platform for growth and purpose. So releasing emotional charges when you remember the event. When I remember things that are traumatized, I do my best, and I'm not thinking about that right now. No. I say that, the voice in my head says that and blocks that. No. I'm not entertaining that right now. It's not positive. I'm going to focus on positive peace, happiness, and joy, because it is easy. It's too much negativity out here in the world to be focused on. It is very difficult to focus on the positive things that happen in life, and we must learn to do that. Okay? You'll be surprised. It's a lot more positive going on than negative sometimes. Right? All right, an example. You stop chasing closure from someone who never gave you clarity. You create your own closure by choosing peace over confusion. Close out that situation. If it's a relative that never called you or never took care of you, forgive them. We don't know what trauma they have. Close out that situation. Forgive them. The greater you. Remember, we're trying to find a greater us. Close that situation out and keep that door open. If that person ever comes back, or you ever get contact with that person, be able to talk to that person and let that person know how you feel in constructive, positive ways. And that's all you want to do, is you just really want to be heard. You want people to care, right? But sometimes they may not. So again, I pose the question: should we stand in one place until they care, or should we move on with our life, do what we may expect of them to do for us, do it ourselves, and catch them maybe later? Maybe we could have a conversation later in life, but we can't let that hold us back, because we must forgive them. We must not carry this baggage and this luggage around. All right, it's gonna turn into something else: self-hatred, anger, all types of other stuff. Okay. All right. So that was pretty quick. So, summary of forgiveness IQ. Why forgiveness IQ is important: to protect your peace without pretending you're not hurt. Okay. You can protect your peace without pretending you're not hurt. Okay. Heal deeply instead of suppressing pain or seeking revenge. Release emotional baggage like shame, bitterness, and resentment. Set boundaries with love, not fear or guilt. Reclaim your power and stop letting past pain control your present. Grow emotionally and spiritually by turning wounds into wisdom. Whether you're forgiving others or yourself, a high forgiveness IQ gives you the tools to transform pain into freedom without denying your truth or compromising your dignity. Forgiveness IQ isn't about letting people off the hook. It's about letting yourself off the hook from carrying their weight, from carrying their trauma, from carrying their intent for your reality. All right? You have to be able to let these things go and automate emotional release, automate self-healing. Okay? So that's all we have for you today. We got our No Self-Hate apparel, mental health awareness apparel and accessories. Make sure you go to NOSELFHATE.com to grab that. These things are really wonderful. Again, I wear mine all of the time. I have mine on now. So yeah, I just try to spread the word and help people from their trauma, their anger, and self-hatred, right? No self-hate. And then, yeah, I hope you learned something today. I hope you learned something about yourself today. I hope you're going to be able to take this information and enhance your forgiveness IQ. We have a forgiveness IQ test that will be available for you to take if you would like to go through and see where you are. All right. And again, the scale of the forgiveness IQ test is not scientific or anything. This is just something for us to measure where we are and where we would like to be. All right. That'll be coming soon. But thank you for your time, your energy, and your support. Peace, and I will talk to you on the next video.